So, Calvin, we are once again starting this podcast, and I just want to take the time to let everyone know a little story about Calvin. Calvin is the dynamic artistic force between all the sound editing and mixing of this podcast, and sometimes that can weigh on him. Sometimes the unbearable weight of massive talent can get to Calvin, and every now and then, I need to send Calvin a message and remind him who he is, and just say, "Listen, man, you are Cal fucking Vin. Whoa, you kick ass at this shit."
What a beautiful second intro. I'm sorry we've had to do this like 3 different times. It has been such a mess. So, this is going to be the first episode of this season that we're having to do virtually. I got exposed to somebody that tested positive for COVID, so just play it safe. We're doing this virtually, which is a bummer because I was really excited to talk about this with you in person. We had plans for a tailgate. It was going to be magnificent. But yeah, so welcome back to This Podcast is for Nerds. This is another media club. It's our second in a row, and it just took Sonic and Nicolas Cage to get Zach back in the theater, I guess.
Honestly, yeah, it was that, but also just, when everyone's rushing back, especially coming out of, COVID, or at least transitioning to a new stage of like where COVID sits in the U.S. right now, wasn't really sure if I was in a mood to rush back to a tiny room filled with heavy breathers and butter popcorn. But alas, as Calvin stated, Nick Cage and Sonic the Hedgehog, aka Ben Schwartz, were able to coax me inside the movie theaters again.
It's a beautiful thing. I think we're in a really good time for original movies. We have this what we're reviewing, which Zach has teased. It's massive. We saw The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which is a Nicolas Cage film. And then I just saw Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I think we need to do an episode on, because it could be recency bias, but I think it's possibly in my top 20 movies of all time right now.
I definitely need to watch that because that's honestly very high praise from you.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. I really think you're gonna dig it too. Just as a fighting, I think you're a fan of martial arts. I think you're really gonna like it, and it's super fun and slapsticky. So, but that's not what we're talking about today. Today we are talking about Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. So this is a movie where Nicolas Cage stars a fictionalized version of himself. He's kind of down on his luck. He's out of money, and he gets an invite from this Spanish guy who's super rich, and he's just looking for a weekend with Nicolas Cage. He's going to give him $1 million to do it. So he does it, and the movie's kind of focused on their relationship and what happens when he flies out to Spain. So Zach, what's your spoiler-free review of Unbearable Weight?
My unbiased, unspoiled, and overall, it's weird to do this a third time in a row.
Yeah, right. I've already said what I feel about the movie.
This just reminds me of our first time recording, the lost recording that no one will ever find, and then having to do that all again too. It's really funny, honestly. But that said, I honestly really enjoyed the movie. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 because I was not able to really know what was going to happen. Most movies, I can kind of guess the plot and figure out what character's going to do what. And I guess the more human elements of it towards the end, you kind of could figure out the overall, when you look at it back, I could say, part of the ending that was more focused around people. I guess you could say I could see that happening, but it wasn't also one of those things that led me to believe it would have turned out that way. If the opposite had happened of how it ended, it also would have surprised. It also would have been a huge surprise. So 5 out of 5 because it kept me guessing.
That's great. Yeah. So for me, as a a massive Nicolas Cage fan who was like eating up all the references that the movie was giving us. Yeah, I thought it was great. There's a certain aspect to the movie that I didn't really enjoy, but I want to save it for the spoiler filled version. But there is a kind of a B plot that I don't find super interesting, and I feel like kind of took away from the moments that Nicolas Cage and his co-star Pedro Pascal go through. So I think I gave this like a 3.5 or a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. So yeah, I would say like if you're a passing fan of Nicolas Cage, you'll have a good time. If you don't like him at all, I would say definitely skip this movie because it is him to 11. Like he is like this is clearly like an extreme version of Nicolas Cage. This is like him at his like most Nicolas Cagey. So yeah, if you don't like him, I'd say skip it. But if you're a fan, definitely go. It's fun. It's an original story. It's heartwarming, and yeah. So let's jump into the plot and some spoilers. So so what did you think of the overall plot? So the plot is, Nicolas Cage gets invited to this guy's McMansion out in Majorca and gets to kind of learn a bit about him. What did you think about that? And then Nick's relationship with Pedro Pascal's character.
So, I think again, it was one of those things that I just didn't know really what to expect from it. Like from the get go, you can tell it's a very self-deprecating Nicolas Cage movie. You can like if you watch any of the Red Band trailers or anything like that, you kind of got the gist of like the overall, but not really understanding like how close they'd actually get or how I guess rivaling plots in each of the characters' backgrounds would come to clash with each other. And I think they did a really great job of mixing in like fanciful elements that action movies are known to have versus like, hey, you're a regular guy. Go fuck yourself. Like you can't do XYZ. This isn't a movie. You're an actor. You're not this real person. Which I thought was they added a lot of weird but cool layers to the movie. And then helped like explore both of their characters. I'm honestly really curious about later on in the podcast where you talk about the B plot that you didn't care for, only because I think it's the same thing that you and I mock and make fun of in every kind of movie that they try to shoehorn this into, just like we did with Sonic. But I'm curious to see if that parallels or not.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. Yeah, so now that we're in the spoiler-filled part of the podcast, I'll just bring it up now.
8 minutes in,
yeah,
spoiler time.
Yeah, it's spoiler time. Go see the movie and then come back and listen to this. Oh, I didn't even say our social media. Like we gotta promote ourselves. Damn it!
In the video, I'm posting a little bit later on after we're done recording today of the mock-up that I made of us the day we went to go watch Sonic. It's actually pretty funny. I put the soldiers in twice because I did forget and cut off half of it during that mashup.
Well, I would rather have it twice than not at all, so that's perfectly fine by me. So follow us on social media: Instagram, This Pod is for Nerds; Twitter, This Pod is the number 4 Nerds, and then This Pod is for Nerds at gmail.com. I will say we are going to be posting videos on Spotify now. Spotify has video podcasts, so we're going to put up a video of this podcast and make sure you rate us on Spotify so people can find us.
Wait, they do? That's awesome.
Yeah, well, it started with Mr. Rogan, and then I just got an email from them on our Gmail that said we can start uploading video podcasts. So I'm gonna do that.
Oh man, we're gonna have to start like putting in some production.
I know, right? Yeah, yeah. Our next episode, we definitely need to do in person.
I'm gonna start cutting down for all of you 5 people who listen, just so I don't embarrass myself in front of you. Just the voice has to match the bod, right? Like that's what we're looking for here. That's why we're here.
No one's gonna be disappointed with the body matching your voice. Whatever you have in your head, it is accurate. The thing that I really didn't like about the movie, and it's like a nitpick, it's not that big of a deal, because like the movie is basically, I don't know if you saw the interview with James Franco and Seth Rogen, where they go to
I did.
assassinate Kim Jong Un. That's basically what this movie is.
Oh crap, you're right.
But I think this is better. But the thing I wasn't crazy about was the like the FBI agents, Tiffany Haddish and Ike Barinholtz. To be clear, I like both of them. I think they're both hilarious. I think Tiffany Haddish is fucking hilarious. I don't know if you saw the new Eric Andre movie, where it's like him doing like pranks out in real life. It's basically him doing the Eric Andre show, but as a movie. And Tiffany Haddish was in it. What is it called? Bad Trip.
Oh yeah, I didn't see it, but yeah, okay.
I highly recommend it. I thought she was great in that. I just like, I didn't find them super interesting, and I thought like them like constantly going back to them. It was like, well, I want to see like what's going on with Nick and Pedro Pascal. So it's a total nitpick. Overall, I think the plot was great. I mean, it clearly serviced, you know, basically, you know, it's a love letter to Nicolas Cage and all the movies he's done. Also, I'm loving the Paddington 2 love that the movie gives. I've been telling my partner for at least, I don't know, when did Paddington 2 come out? I'm gonna pull this up here. 2017. Since it came out, I've been telling her it is the perfect film. That film is flawless, and everyone should go see it. And so after we saw Unbearable Weight, we immediately went home and I made her watch Paddington 2. She thought it was delightful.
I, I can't tell if you're fucking with me right now.
No, Paddington 2 is a 10 out of 10 movie. It is a perfect film.
No, you're fucking with me. You have to be.
I promise you. I promise you I'm not. I pray you go watch that movie when you get home. Like, after this podcast, go watch it.
I don't think that's something I can sit through on my own. I don't know if I can't do that. I have to, you know what, I'll wait for the family to get here and make them do it. Yeah. And then, you know what, the funny part is too, I'll be like, hey, it's like Nick Cage said, we gotta watch it. That'll at least get the kid in here to watch it.
Yeah. And you just let him know that Calvin also agrees with Pedro Pascal's character.
Then yeah, if you, that's one of those like key things, and like if you didn't see this movie, you wouldn't get what we're talking about. But it's hilariously like just one of those things they keep coming back to. Comedy comes in threes. They keep referencing it. It's hilarious. The part that I thought that you were going to talk about that you didn't care for was like Nick's family aspect and how they kind of tried to repair the relationship with that one. Because like I will say that was pretty funny. When they bring the family out to like help him, I guess we're getting too far into the plot if we kind of jump into that, but how he tries to apologize and his daughter and his ex just shit on him for it. It was just hilarious. Like, I know those people probably wouldn't have laughed at that, but it was just hilarious how they did it. They're like, oh yeah, whatever, this is fucking dumb.
Yeah, it's basically a non-apology he gives them. It is definitely, it was cliched, the whole family dynamic, but I found it heartwarming. And I felt like it was part of his character growth in the movie, so I felt it was kind of necessary. And I just love the song that he wrote for his daughter for her birthday.
I did forget about that.
Yeah.
You mentioned the FBI aspect of it too, and I liked how, even though it didn't really have a place, I liked how the movie kept making fun of itself for the direction it was going. Like, we were living out Nick Cage and I forget his name in the movie, and Javi's like movie plan changing over time with the subplot of like the whole like FBI thing. It definitely got way too real. At some point, they really had a drastic tone shift for the movie where it was just like, wait a minute.
Oh yeah, there's the scene where Ike Barinholtz is just dead. Like, he just gets shot in the head.
Okay, I thought he was just like knocked out, and they're like, "Oh, kill her too." I was like, "Wait a minute, they're dead." Oh, they're dead. Okay,
yeah.
Wow.
I guess my bigger issue is how incompetent they are as FBI agents.
It's funny because like Ike Barinholtz, whenever he shows up, you know you're in for a good time. And I feel like with the minute you saw him, you was like, okay, this is gonna be a comedy movie. And then he gets shot in the head, and Tiffany Haddish gets shot too. And it's like, what the hell? But then Nick Cage makes that with his 25-year-old self too. So, you know.
Oh yeah, so I wanted to get into that. So we'll start talking about the plot, and then we can fill in like points that we want to discuss a little further. So the movie is Nicolas Cage. He's a struggling actor, and so there's like a scene where he's kind of talking with this. It must be like a casting agent or a director, and he's trying to audition for this role, and it's just, it doesn't seem to be going well. He's not getting many movies. I mean, he's basically doing what he does, which is like, less so now. I honestly think Nicolas Cage is doing some of his best work he's ever done right now. My favorite, one of my favorite, it might be my favorite movie from last year was a Nicolas Cage movie. It was Pig. So fucking good. But yeah, so that happens, and it's clear like that guy's not gonna give him the role, and then he's like driving, and then you see his little Nicky version of himself, and they basically took Nick Cage and did the de-aging software. So
I'm sorry, I'm trying not to laugh.
No, it's really bad. Like I shouldn't say it's bad. It's just like when I compare it to other de-aging that they've done in movies like Star Wars, it doesn't look good, but I guess it's kind of funny in that way. I don't know. Was it distracting for you?
It wasn't distracting because it just wasn't. Like, it just worked. Like, I was curious how they did it because that's the one thing, people saw him yell in the movie, like, oh, you're Nick Cage, fucking Cage, wow. Like, when it happened, I thought, oh, it's going to happen. I'm not going to, like, be intrigued. But I was intrigued because it kept going. Like, that wasn't even my favorite quote of young Nicky. It's like, this guy fucking smooches hard. Tell everyone, Nick Cage smooches hard. I was like, what? What? I don't know. It didn't distract me at all, actually.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I thought he was definitely like, there's a really great interview. I think they're portraying a specific interview of him, I think. I'll have to throw it into the podcast like in the middle, but it's him going on this late night show, and it's him young, and it's like he's wearing the exact same outfit that he's wearing in the interview that they have him wearing in this movie. And he is like, it is the most unhinged Nicolas Cage I've ever seen. He's like literally like finger guns at the audience. He's like kicking. He's like jumping over the I mean, it's like that the fucking Tom Cruise interview with Oprah where he's just losing it. It's basically that, but it's Nicolas Cage. It's pretty great. And I'm pretty sure that's what they're referencing. I'm going to throw it into the episode.
Welcome, Nicolas Cage. Well, understatement's the watchword tonight.
Oh, hang on a second. My mic, darn it, all that physical activity just took my mic off.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Please do.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. I think it was kind of a perfect. Oh, according to Screen Rant, I am right. It is from his interview with Terry Wogan. It's great.
I'm impressed that you know that, honestly. Like, that's I know you said you're a fan, but I am impressed that you know that.
I'm definitely a big Nick Cage fan. What I love about it is like how self-referential it is. They reference so many of his movies. So kind of getting back to the plot and then just kind of jump in the moments that you want to discuss further. Like, so it's clear he's got he ends up in therapy with his daughter, and the daughter's pretty clearly not interested in this therapy session at all. She knows Nicolas Cage is like a complete narcissist, and he claims to want to build a relationship with her by like showing her movies that he really likes, and she's not into it. She's a teenager. And so then it ends up being her birthday, and he shows up. He finds out he didn't get the movie role from the beginning, which big shocker there. That they make it pretty clear he's not going to get it. But I will say one thing I did love. His agent is Neil Patrick Harris.
Dude, how can we forget about MPH like that? His role wasn't super heavy, but goddamn, MPH shows up, dude.
Oh, totally. Yeah, it feels like that like Harold and Kumar cameo that he has. I just feel like the cameos that he does are so fucking good. Because there's one scene where they're kind of talking about his career, and this is when NPH kind of pitches, "Hey, you should go see this Spanish guy. He's a big fan. He's going to give you $1 million." But before that, they're going to this like spa, and they're basically getting like flogged, and NPH is like clearly super into it, but like he's like, "This is awesome," and then they'll like slap him. He's like, "Oh, fuck me."
He's like, "How is this relaxing for anyone?" He just beats the pain, beats the tension right out of you. Fuck. I was like, wow. It made a whole generation and a whole room of people excited and very uncomfortable at the same time. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I was very into it.
Culturally, I don't think I was, but other than that, it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be a joke, everybody. By the way, that was just.
So then he's at his daughter's birthday party, and he finds out he didn't get that role. So now he's like, okay, clearly I need to like get out of this acting thing, or maybe I should start considering that $1 million offer. So he starts drinking pretty heavily at his daughter's party, and he completely interrupts the celebration. There, she's like blowing out candles for the cake. And he comes up and he gets on the piano and he starts playing her this song that he claims he's been writing for the past, I don't know, what was it, like 10, 15 years or something like that?
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, we were out in the desert together looking at the stars, and I wrote this song for you." I'm apologizing to everybody right now. I would do my very best to not just start laughing randomly. But whenever I remember this movie, it just makes me laugh even more because I'm remembering scenes that I just thought were ridiculous, and it's just great. But yes, it's supposed to be like a beautiful birthday tribute, but really it's just, he's drunk off his ass. He didn't get this role, and now he wants to be the center again. He like stumbles through and like embarrasses his daughter with the guy that she likes. "Oh, you shut up like a weed there. Look how strong you are. You're the, big man on campus," that kind of crap. So yes, I'm sorry. It's a great movie. I'm just going to keep laughing. Please continue. You must stop me, Cal.
No. This is great. This is what this is supposed to be. We're supposed to be talking about the moments we liked. So yeah, he embarrasses himself. He basically gets kicked out of his daughter's birthday thing. His wife drives him home, and she's like, "You got to get your shit together. Like, she needs a dad, not this like psychotic actor that just like can't get his life together." So he goes to his hotel and he calls his manager, and he's like, "Yeah, all right, I'm gonna do the damn thing." So he ends up flying out to Mallorca in Spain, and it's in this moment where we get introduced to Tiffany Haddish and Ike Barinholtz, and they're clearly like, I think at first I thought maybe they were like a riot. So I think I knew that Javi was like a drug kingpin type person or something beforehand. But at first I thought, maybe they're like a rival group and they're going to use this guy like as leverage to try and take him down. I didn't realize it was FBI at first. I don't know if you had made that connection.
Honestly, no. When I saw the trailer, I didn't know much about what was happening. I thought it was going to be, since, some movies when they use the actor's like real name, it's just like not a personified, but a fictionalized version of that actor. Sometimes they'll have it like, oh, they're at a party, like how they had what's the movie with like Seth Rogen and like Seth Rogen, where it's like the end of the world or whatever. But it's like all of the people in their real lives.
Michael Cera's doing
I thought it was
in the bathroom.
Yeah, which was, I'll never get over that one. See Michael Cera's ass just there. No, I thought it was something like that where they were just like, oh hey, like we're going to this party and Nick Cage is here, so they have like people show up like, oh my god, it's Nick Cage. I had no idea about any of the connections whatsoever.
So anyways, they realize it's not the guy they were expecting. It's Nicolas Cage, and Which I don't remember if they, or maybe I don't remember if they even addressed like who they were expecting it to be. I think maybe it was.
They did.
Oh, they did. Okay.
They expected it to be Javi, which was even weirder.
Oh, that is weird.
Like, I don't know if they were surveying his house, how the hell would they think he was on a plane?
Yeah, exactly. That is super weird. So basically, Tiffany Haddish puts the tracker on Nicolas Cage, and she just kind of like acts like a fan of his, and so now they're like tracking him back to Javi's house, and they have this great exchange where she's talking about have you seen him in Croods too? And Ike Barinholtz is like, no, I'm fucking 40 years old. I've seen Face Off. I was like, that is just perfect. It's so good.
That was good. He's like, why the fuck you think I've seen Croods too? Like, and it was funny because it made me think, was he? I don't know if he was in Croods because I would have never seen that. And it also made me think, is Ike Barinholtz really 44? Like, all the things that made me think out of nowhere just had me laughing.
So Nicolas Cage is in Croods too.
No shit.
Yeah, which to be honest, I don't even know what the movie is. I think it's a kids movie. And then Ike Barinholtz is 45 years old.
No shit.
He looks good for 45.
Yeah, shout out to Ike.
Yeah.
I mean, you look great in that movie, except for when you got shot in the head.
Yeah, that was not a good look. That was a bad look. So he gets to Javi's house. He's like clearly not having it. He's just like, I want to get my money and go. He's clearly very depressed. And Javi is like being the person that I would be around Nicolas Cage, where he's like a total fanboy. He's being kind of like cagey, doesn't know how to address him. He like clearly wants to show him this like screenplay that he wrote. And then his like girlfriend / assistant / business partner, I don't know what her relationship really was.
Yeah, that's a fair one. That's all of that's accurate.
Yeah, so she's like trying to push him to like engage with him, and that's when Nicolas Cage kind of announces to them, I'm quitting acting. I'm done. I'm out of this. And he does the Leaving Las Vegas pool scene where he's like drinking beer and he just like sinks to the bottom of the pool and he just sits there. It's a very depressing moment.
It's supposed to be, but I was just laughing.
Oh yeah, me too. Like, I was like, this is Leaving Las Vegas.
It's so exactly, for a fan like you would know the reference and go like, oh my god, they put this in here. For me, I didn't know that reference, but I knew it was over the top, and it was just like not how you were supposed to react to the situation you're in.
Yeah, I'm like, so he's in Mallorca, which is like one of the most beautiful islands in the world, and he's like on this like coastal mansion. He's like looking out over the ocean. It's just a beautiful day. And he's like, fuck this, I'm so depressed. I'm just gonna like drown in this pool.
And Javi jumps in after him and pulls him up. I mean, yeah, let's keep building on this because I want to get to one particular scene that really threw me off but had me absolutely dying, and it's the scene in the car.
Which one? Is this like way later or?
So at this point, he's depressed, doesn't want to stop. He wants to stop acting, and then the FBI taps on him to start like snooping around the house because you're right, that is a weird subplot. Which is funny because they actually address that in the movie about the whole kidnapping.
Right.
Because the movie opens with that, like out of nowhere. Like you open. Oh wow, we forgot about that entirely.
Oh yeah, it doesn't actually start with Nicolas Cage auditioning for a role. It's a Spanish girl and her partner presumably are watching a Nicolas Cage movie, and then these random guys come in and kidnap her. Which funny enough, I remember when they announced this movie. It was like, I don't know if it's officially when they announced it. It's when I found out about it. It was like right around COVID. The original plot was Pedro Pascal was going to be the president of Mexico, and his daughter got kidnapped, and he hires Nicolas Cage to get his daughter back. That was like the original plot of the movie, which I honestly think I would have enjoyed more.
It was funny too. That's something that they kind of kept in the weeds for a minute during the movie for that subplot. I couldn't figure out who was kidnapped and who was holding who. Like, I thought that whole scene that happened in the beginning was a flashback that happened. And so Javi was in the future now talking about how much he loved Nicolas Cage, and that the girl he wanted to rescue was the girl who was kidnapped in the beginning. I thought that was his daughter, like you just said, because the way they kind of. It's funny you say that. I honestly thought the girl who got kidnapped was his daughter.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I did too at first. Yeah.
More gems and more layers from Sir Nicolas Cage.
Excellent work. Yeah, what is the car scene? Is this where they take the LSD?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll blow through this really quick. So they kind of they finally bond over their love of film. Javi really likes Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which was a movie he tried to get his daughter into and she didn't like it. And Javi says it's like one of his favorites. And then he also says Paddington 2 is his favorite movie. And like Nicolas Cage is like, you gotta be fucking me. So then they end up watching Paddington 2 and like Nick ends up loving it. So then he gets tapped by the FBI later that night and they're like, Javi is this like big drug dealer. He's got this young girl that's like been kidnapped. It's a political rival, right?
Yeah, it's like the current president's daughter, and the way they spin it is that the cartel or whatever you call it for drug whatever will hold the daughter unless the current president chooses to step down. So that way the person who they want to run, who's more like cartel friendly, can be in position and be in power.
Yeah, so he.
I remember so much more of that plot than I thought.
It's kind of complex, which is I think kind of like what audiences want right now. I think they want like a more complex, less simple movie. So, anyways, he agrees to tap in Javi's house, and the way he kind of like gets around it is like, I'm gonna make this movie that Javi wrote. We're gonna be buddies, and that way I can gather more intel on him. So, anyways. I can't remember, is the LSD before or after that party where he's like going into their server room? I think it's after.
So that's after. So basically, like, they're trying to write this movie, and like Nick's like, I don't have a way I don't really feel inspired. I don't really know, because at this point they say, oh, go check these places, see if this girl's there. And Javi finds him snooping around. He's like, listen, I know how to motivate us, to brainstorm the idea. And he's like, well, what's that? He's like, oh, it's LSD. And Nick's like, fuck it. All right.
Yeah, the acid trip was pretty great. I love they're driving very casually throughout that whole movie. I'm like, I would not want to drive on acid. I could not imagine that.
I love the whole scene where they're just watching the two guys, and here's like Nick Cage, who's an actor, right? Already paranoid because of he's trying to get information from this supposed drug lord about the kidnapping of this girl, and he's a regular civilian trying to get information. And then you have Javi, who thinks Nicolas Cage is poking around, but for a reason that he doesn't really understand yet, being paranoid of each other, and then taking LSD and having a shared collective experience of being paranoid, and then trying to run from these two old guys who I don't think were even there in the second scene. I think they just like LSD imagined them. And then the whole
it's like completely different people.
Yeah. And then the whole scene where they're trying to get up the wall, and it's not. It's this whole like scene you see, like, go on without me, I can't get over the wall, they're coming for me, blah blah. And it's this movie has too many layers, Calvin. That's the problem.
I agree. It's like onions.
Everyone just go watch the movie. Why are you listening to us right now? Go watch the movie. Then come back and listen to us, or email us, or contact us on Instagram. Mostly Instagram, more so Twitter eventually, but contact us and tell us about it. Let's have a dialogue about this movie, because there's too much to talk about in a very short period of time, but we will attempt it, and we are here for you. We won't leave you behind, because after all, Nicolas Cage bonded with the Mandalorian.
That is true. That is true. Oh, I hadn't even thought about that, because it's funny. Didn't Nick Cage had this like whole big rant about Marvel and Star Wars in general? And,
yes.
Like, and now he's like starring side by side with Mando. Like, that's so funny. Wow, I had not even made that connection.
During the whole movie, I kept looking at him going, this guy looks so damn familiar. Like, and one thing my partner and I looked up, when they had the scene where they go, oh, I feel like I just haven't talked, you're a friend I haven't talked to in like 15 years, we can pick up where we left off. Those two were actually in a TV show where Nicholas guest starred for one episode, like 10 or 15 years ago. and they just kept in contact or met up again. I don't even know how the story happened, but we were curious and we Googled it, and that's what we found out.
Oh my gosh, that's insane. Well, and then also Nicolas Cage is Ghost Rider, which is a Marvel.
That's right. I forgot about Ghost Rider.
Yeah, just a terrible film. I definitely saw the first one. I don't think I saw the second one.
I forgot there was a second one.
So anyways, they drive off on their acid trip after having like a bad scare with these like fake mobsters. And so that I guess the Tiffany Haddish and Ike Barinholtz are like, we kind of have an idea where this girl is. We think it's this space. So like whenever you get some time away from him, try and go in this room. And so Javi passes out during the car ride home. And so he like tries to sneak in and then Javi kind of walks up behind him. He's like, do you want to see what's back there? It's going to like change our whole relationship. And it's very tense. And you're like, oh God, he's going to like show him the girl. And then my favorite part of the whole movie, he takes him into this room and it's just strictly Nicolas Cage memorabilia. And it is fucking awesome. There's so much goddamn Nick Cage memorabilia in this room.
That's one thing too. I love that they kept that. So I know the subplot wasn't your favorite, and yes, it was kind of like weird to put it in, but the being able to go from the suspense and tension to just nonsense like that's what made me enjoy the movie a lot, honestly.
Yeah, I mean this was the moment where I was like, it's so self-referential, and it just seems like a love letter to Nick Cage and Nick Cage fans, because there's a moment like when he first walks in, you see all this memorabilia. They've got like scripts, they've got the sound clap. I forget what it's called. From The Rock. He's got like scripts, and then I remember like sitting in the theater with my partner, and I look and I point, and I'm like, that has got to be the chainsaw from Mandy. And then he immediately goes, oh, you've got the chainsaw from Mandy. I was like, fuck yes. Oh my God. Which just a quick sidebar. Have you seen Mandy?
I have. I have to check. I haven't seen an actual Nick Cage film in so long. I feel like I have though.
So it's a horror movie. It's like a psychedelic horror movie. It came out in like 2018. It is so fucking phenomenal. You like horror, right?
No, I do not.
No, you don't. Okay.
Actually.
What about but you like a revenge movie, like the Keanu revenge movies? I forget what they're called.
John Wick.
Yeah. I
actually haven't seen any of those.
Oh, really? Okay. I'm gonna say maybe watch Mandy. I will say horror fans definitely watch Mandy.
I'll look it up and I'll be able to get back to you on that. Cause I know it sounds familiar. That's why when you said, "Oh, it's the chainsaw from Mandy," like Chainsaw and Mandy, those two things together, you know it's gonna be a horror film. Any person's name that ends in a Y and you had a chainsaw, bad shit's gonna happen.
There's basically a really great battle with two chainsaws. It's fucking awesome.
Interesting. Okay, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's a very trippy movie. But then like the best moment is he's got this like bust of him from The Rock, or no, what movie is it? Is it The Rock?
Shit.
Or no, it's Face Off. It's Castor Troy.
Yeah.
He's got the like gold pistols. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which Face Off, I feel like we could do a whole episode on Face Off.
We totally could actually. We should do that. We should have a retro, like we should do basically that we did with Total Recall. Just watch Face Off again.
Oh yeah, we should. Yeah, let's bring people in like we did last time, where they get to pick what we watch.
Cobb, where are you, bud?
Cobb, I know you're with child, but like, and you guys aren't doing the podcast anymore. But come back.
You want to watch Face Off?
Yeah, come watch Face Off, man. We'll do Face Waterfall.
Except for the fact that one of us may have been exposed to COVID, we'll come to Conchi and watch little Face Off.
I'm vaxxed and waxed. We'll be all right. I just need a few days.
I just saw that Shuff is starting a whole new. He's been traveling around the U.S. He's getting ready to start a whole new segment of his travels. Actually.
Oh, that's awesome. What's his? Do we know his Insta? We should. I'll throw him in the description.
We'll throw in the description. Right now, I don't know.
Yeah, so support him in his endeavors.
Shuff store and Brendan Shuff. I still remember that intro.
Oh, it's a great intro. Their theme song is so dope. So after this is the party, right? Where I want you to take over here on the party scene where they have him go like take over the server room.
Oh, okay. This is actually This is the party. I think the party is actually before all this because he didn't start actually cooperating with them because he felt like he had some moxie to be a spy. But nevertheless, we'll go over the party scene. So basically, it's weird because the transitions in the movie sometimes would kind of cut from like real life to Nick Cage's headspace and then back and just kind of building a scene out of nowhere. So the transitions can be like, oh, he's like walking there writing this, what's happening to him going in his own head, and then just imagining something and it being real. So the party scene had that kind of transition. He was wearing a white suit. He had to find a way to stay on the island more than the time he was supposed to be there, and that's why he agreed to write the movie with Hobby at Hobby's party. In doing so, they're like, listen, we don't have information on this house. We need to tap it. You're going to go and install the surveillance system on the house. He's like, nah, okay, well, whatever. And basically, they were able to create a blip in the system and knock the power out for like 4 seconds. In that point of time, he was supposed to slip away to the server room to go and install these devices.
Which I feel like they didn't explain this at all. It was just like they were explaining it as it was happening, and I was like, I feel like this would have taken a long time to set up.
Oh, I agree. I 100% agree. Like, if they were able to tap all that information in the amount of time to short out the house, they should have just been able to install stuff on inside. There's a lot of holes in the actual... Never mind. Anyway, yes, I agree with you. But then you wouldn't have a movie.
That's true. Yeah.
So you wouldn't have this gem of a scene that happens next. So Nick Cage is squaring up a storm because he's nervous. He doesn't want to get caught or killed by these guys, and there's no one there who can come save him. And they give him a little kit to install the network patch so they can see inside the house, including something to help knock out anyone who may come give him trouble. So he puts this drug in his hand. It's on like a little plastic film. And they're talking to him about how absolutely potent and lethal it is. Like, you shouldn't put this on you. It'll knock you out and they'll find you, blah, blah, blah. And in his like rush, he like is sweating. So he wipes his brow. He goes, okay, cool, whatever. And he's like, wait a minute. I just touched my face. And then Ike, who was Ike's character, who was against this the entire time, loses his shit.
Oh yeah, he says something about like going back to work for like the Navy SEALs or something like that. I don't remember what it was.
No, he said we're gonna get fired to go back home and live with my mom and work at Radio Shack or something irreverent like that. we let Nick Cage fucking die. This is stupid. We're gonna get caught. All this, he just lost his mind. So the whole scene now goes into, I don't remember the name of the drug, but basically it was almost like, I don't know, solid chlorophyll or whatever kind of chlorophyll knockout drug that can be absorbed through the skin on contact.
Well, they made it sound like it would kill him if he didn't take the antidote.
Yeah, they did. So you get this hilarious scene of him trying to still avoid this guard who's going to inspect the room. While he is actively starting to get more and more drunk isn't the right word. Just high, I guess.
Yeah.
What would you call it? He's just getting more and more, like, the tension is on. He has to go. So imagine all the scenes you've seen with, like, Tom Cruise hanging outside of a plane for Mission Impossible 12, Escape from Oprah's couch or whatever. And, the tension you actually feel in those movies, coupled with Nick Cage swearing and slurring, almost about to fall out of a window because he's like getting more and more like irreverent and about to pass out and get caught. So I can't describe that well enough, honestly. It's just a wild scene. He has to climb out to a balcony and like shimmy across while he's being coached by Tiffany Haddish and Ike Barinholtz on how not to fall and die. And if he does die, well, then they're all dead, and the girl's dead, and all this other crazy stuff's going to happen. And at one point, like, he has to go back to the antidote, which he left in the room. He lays down and starts falling asleep, and they can't wake him up. He's not listening. Oh, Nick, wake up, blah, blah, blah. Nicky comes out and is like, hey, you dumb idiot, this is what you get, ha, ha, ha. You can't kill us, this is our career. And then Tiffany Haddish yells action, and for some reason, because he's an actor, he just knows to get up and stab himself in the leg with the arrows. None of this makes sense.
It really doesn't. But I do love the physical comedy of that scene. I was like, Nick Cage is really good at physical comedy.
Yeah, because like he just like drags himself across the floor like an inchworm, just sliding his face into the carpet, and then just passes out.
So it ends up working.
I feel like he's just a lot more. He's a lot more fun than like I think people give him credit for.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And then, so I forget. So after that, he gets the text about their phones being tapped, right?
Okay, so we do jump a little bit. Let's see. So after Nick goes into the room where he sees his own golden guns, and we go through a bunch of Nick Cage history, Javi's a little pissed off because he feels like, Nick's still kind of stuck and not able to be as creative as possible. They share their stories about their families and how Nick wishes he could bond with his daughter. And Javi thinks the only way to get Nick to bond with his daughter is to like, Nick keeps trying to get Javi to talk. Say, hey, we should add a kidnapping scene, and to kind of help him like start talking about a girl he's kidnapped so he can show her. Because it doesn't feel like Javi is like as bad as of a guy as people say he is, and he keeps using the fact that he's a trained actor to know people's feelings, and there's no way he could be a bad guy. Javi decides to bring Nick's family to the mansion to try and resolve some of those issues, so the creative writer's block that Nick is suffering from obviously can be redeemed and they can finish their movie. It's at that point when Nick's like, what the hell, why did you bring them here, thinking Javi's super dangerous, that Tiffany Haddish says, hey, we just got notification our phones have been tapped, we have to pull out, you need to get out, and we're going to do our best to help you. That's when the movie kind of takes a bit of a turn and gets more definitely action driven. And that's when we kind of find out some of the bigger twists in the movie that kind of take over the whole, it's a weird mix because I feel like it kind of helps solidify the whole friendship between Nick and Javi, because they're having to come to a crossroads on how to handle the situation where, for lack of a better term, if Javi kills Nick or Nick kills Javi, that's how they would solve the situation, or how that would be teed up. We find out that Javi actually isn't the drug lord that we thought. It's his cousin who we were introduced to earlier in the movie, but he just seems like this kind of irreverent guy who's hanging around being kind of reckless. So the cousin finds out that Nicolas Cage he taps Nicolas Cage, finds out that he's been working with the FBI, gives Javi an ultimatum. He goes, kill Nicolas Cage, and then, the FBI says, kill Javi, not knowing that Javi's not the mastermind. Wow, there's a lot to kind of try to catch up here. So please follow along. It's going to get a little bumpy on this road.
You're doing great, Zach.
I'm trying. It's actually all coming back to me at once. So Nick, they have this whole scene where Nick decides what he's going to do. He goes and gets his golden guns from Javi's his fan collector's item. They drive out to the same cliff where Nick and Javi had first started to bond, have this whole talk about how their movie would have been, how they would have enjoyed it. One thing I'm going to actually throw in here, too, is how they did go back to this whole movie made fun of itself the entire time, talking about how they wanted to be character-driven, but audiences hate that, and no one's going to really care. They have to have some action going, so they throw in action. It was really just like it was almost like if you went and started writing something and then started acting it out as you wrote it, and said, this is great, and just kind of played off. It's almost like watching improv. I mean, obviously it was more choreographed and planned out than improv, but they mixed in weird layers of like improv, slapstick, very serious things, because Tiffany Haddish got shot and so did like Baron Holtz. And, it's a really, wow, we're taking it apart now. This is a really weird movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is kind of, I should say it is similar in some of his past work too. One where he's playing two separate characters, but two where he's like writing a movie. Have you seen Adaptation?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so it's kind of similar in that way. But yeah, this movie is, the more we talk about it, the more I realize how complex it is. And probably the higher score I'm going to give it now. Um, it's really good.
Yeah, it's a really hard one to actually like. We always say, "Oh, go watch the movie," but I feel like it's just if you can appreciate and kind of look into it and see how clever it actually is overall. I loved it, honestly. It's just hard to contain and explain about. Like even us explaining it now and kind of telling you what's happening is very different than experiencing it. I know we can say that about a lot of different movies, but this one's so layered and there's so many Easter eggs written into it that it's really worth watching just to kind of experience it, honestly.
Yeah, so there's a moment basically where they're gonna kill each other, and they have a great shoe swapping scene, and I love that.
I forgot about
Nick
that.
Cage is wearing checkered Vans, and I just love it. And then they realize like they need to like stick together, and they're gonna stop his cousin. And there's a scene basically where they're about to get chased by his cousin's guards, and they're gonna drive away, and Javi's like, "No, you need to drive. I heard you did all your stunts and Gone in 60 Seconds, so you're a better driver." And I was just like, "Oh my god, the references are so good." And so Javi's cousin kidnaps Nicolas Cage's daughter. And then his ex-wife is a hairstylist or a makeup specialist, and I guess they met on like a film set. I don't know if that's true, if him and his ex, if she works in the film industry, but basically they dress him up like some other person that Javi's cousin was expecting to meet, and like immediately gets caught. Like it does not last long. And then is it Javi that comes in and starts shooting the place up? Or no, it's his wife.
Oh man. I know that Nick grabs a gun and is able to like he points at the boss's head and is like, "Hey, get the girls, get out of here, everyone drop your gun."
Oh, that's what it was.
So it's like a standoff. Yeah. And then Javi is like, "Wait, where's Nick?" He's like, "He's back." He's like, "Well, I gotta go get him." So that's when he goes in and gets Nick after that, and it starts this whole chase sequence.
Which was actually kind of fun. I really liked that chase sequence.
I did like it during the initial part before they got back to the house, where he's like, they slam on the brakes and the guy in the motorcycle slams into the back of the Land Cruiser. Which, by the way, movie magic, Land Cruisers can't turn that way or go that fast. And he hits the back of it and he goes, "Okay, it's all good. This guy's completely knocked out." And the guy punches Javi in the face.
It's funny. There's kind of a call, or there's a moment where they show a knife when that guy lands in the vehicle. He drops a knife, and like they show it explicitly, and I was like, man, I wonder what that's teasing. And then it's not until like probably 20 minutes later, after this big chase scene, Nicolas Cage drives to the embassy, the American embassy, so that his family can be safe from Javi's cousin. And so Javi's cousin puts a gun to Nick Cage. Or no. He puts a gun to his... No, it is Nick Cage, right?
Yeah. Oh, you're right. Yeah, it's Nick Cage. Because they crash into the embassy, and I think they're safe. But then Javi's cousin runs up with like an Uzi and grabs him and pulls him out of the cruiser.
Yeah, and then his daughter throws the knife to him, and he like stabs the cousin. It's pretty great.
But okay, it's great. But it's even during that scene when the knife gets grabbed, it's really subtle unless you like are actually if you because I saw it, everyone saw it, but when they grab the knife and start throwing, the scene is completely different, and there's completely different people in the scene.
Oh, right, yeah. So then it like fades into what the movie that Nick Cage and Javi wrote together. You kind of find out that everyone's safe, and they were basically the movie that they make is what they experienced together, which was pretty great.
Everyone's safe except for Ike Barinholtz and
oh right, yeah, they're dead.
Tiffany Haddish.
Yeah, they're dead.
Yeah, they're pretty dead. Like they never went back to that, so I'm just gonna assume that they definitely died.
Yeah, they're gone.
I just like how they changed things. It wasn't it wasn't the U.S. Embassy anymore. It was like the Capitol building. They were driving a Hummer. His wife was Demi Moore.
Let's just Americanize the shit out of this scene. So yeah, they have the big movie premiere. It seems like it's a big success, and then Javi wants to see if Nick wants to go do like press or whatever, and he's like, "No, I'm gonna spend time with the family." And then I was like, I know what they're gonna do. I know what they're gonna do right now. They're gonna watch Paddington 2, and
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, that one did catch me off guard.
it was so good. So he like asks his daughter what she wants to do, and she's being kind of like coy, and she's like, "Well, have you seen like Paddington 2?" And they watch it, and I was just like, "Oh, this is so fucking wholesome. This is such a sweet ending to the movie."
To be honest with you, the actual ending was even sweeter.
What was the actual ending?
The actual ending is like they pan up from like them like laughing about Paddington back to Nicky yelling, "Nick fucking!"
Oh, yeah. So good. So good. I forgot there's one more reference I have to mention. They're talking.
Please do.
What's that?
I said, please do.
Oh, okay. They're talking about the movie and the outfit that he's gonna wear, and he's like, "Well, I wanted to wear this big like belt with a tarantula on it." But the fashion person was like, "No, you got to have a really big belt with a bee on it." And he goes, "Not the bees, not the bees." And I was just like, "This, yes, they're referencing Wicker Man, the Wicker Man reference." It's so good.
Now, funny thing about that is we were heading into the theater as Calvin was heading out. And I said, I want to know two things. Do they reference Eleanor and do they reference the Wicker Man? And Calvin's like, I won't tell you how, but the answer is yes. I was like, I'm in.
Yeah, it was, oh man, it was just like, it was such a great movie. It's definitely like, there are great movies where it's like, I'll probably never go back and watch it. Then there's a few of those Nick Cage ones. Like, I don't know if I could stomach watching Pig again. It's just a super heavy movie. But this is one that's like, I'm definitely gonna like get the Blu-ray for this. Like, I don't buy physical media too often, but like I'm dying to see like special features. I want to hear the director's commentary because like Nick Cage didn't write this movie. It was a group of writers that are just like clearly big Nick Cage fans. So like I want to hear, like I also want to know like what references were cut because like I felt like they went pretty tame on the National Treasure references. I feel like that could have been most of the movie.
I want to know exactly like how the pitch went down. Like I feel like there's also a scene in there where they like even if maybe the opening scene wasn't even Nick. Like Nick was trying to pitch himself and get a role in the movie. Maybe this was like them playing out, them trying to pitch it to him. And he was like, "What the fuck is this?" Like,
right. So
he was like, "That's yeah." Like, what if they're like, "Hey man, you want to play you want to play yourself just like sucking at life?"
Yeah, not really.
I'm gonna pass, guys.
Yeah. Okay, so we're kind of nearing the end here. But before we go, Nicolas Cage has a long storied, filmography, and actually is I don't know if you know this, he's related to Francis Ford Coppola,
Yes.
which they reference in the movie, I think.
You caught a very subtle reference, actually. I was impressed by that. I didn't catch it at first.
Which one?
But the horses?
The horses.
The horse heads when Javi's cousin acts like he's gonna kill
Oh
him.
yeah, right. Yeah, it's a Godfather reference. Yeah.
And it's super subtle if you don't know what the horse head means. Like I've seen The Godfather, and that one I totally missed that one without really like paying attention.
Right. Obviously got a storied filmography, but they didn't reference every one of his movies. So is there a movie you would have liked to see a reference to in this?
I'm pretty sure there's a lot that I've missed reference-wise, so I have to go back and check.
Well, it can be one that you missed, but,
Oh, yeah, that's fair. No, I think, like, I'm going to watch it again. It's worth watching again. I want to say they've caught all the ones that I really wanted to see. I'd have to go back and look, honestly. But I think everything I wanted to see, I saw and was really happy about.
That's fair. I think they hit a lot of them. I would have liked to see like he was a noir Spider-Man and Into the Spider-Verse. I would have liked to see a noir Spider-Man reference maybe. I think that would be fun.
See, I didn't know that, actually.
Oh yeah, so highly recommend. It's probably my favorite Spider-Man movie is Into the Spider-Verse, and Nicolas Cage plays one of the alternate dimension Spider-Mans, and it's noir Spider-Man. So he's like a detective. He's really cool.
That's definitely worth watching now. I hadn't watched it at all.
And then there's a movie he did last year. So he did 2 movies last year. One I loved, and one that was just like absolutely fucking terrible. It was a horror movie called Willy's Wonderland, which was basically just like a horror ripoff of Five Nights at Freddy's. He like basically played this guy that was like cleaning up a like basically like a Chuck E. Cheese overnight, and the animatronics came back to life and tried to kill him. It's really bad. That said, also super fun to watch. So yeah.
All right.
I would have liked to see a reference to that. But yeah, I think that's about it. I'm on the Nick Cage watch. He's got some movies coming up that I'm looking forward to. He's going to be in that new Dracula movie that looks really cool. He's going to be playing a vampire, which I'm pretty excited for.
That's hilarious considering the myth about him being a vampire in the first place.
Is there a myth of him being a vampire?
Oh, dude, go look it up.
Oh, yes. I love it. He does kind of look like one.
There's a picture from like 100 years ago of some dude that looks like picked shot for shot just like him.
Really? Okay. Well,
yeah.
I'll have to check it out. All right. So yeah, that was our review of Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Definitely go see it. If you haven't already, you shouldn't have listened to this if you haven't already seen it. But let us know what you thought. Hit us up. Social media. This pod is for nerds, basically everywhere.
And if you're interested in coming on the show, let us know. We actually have some people that we were going to bring on before the pandemonium hit. So we're going to be bringing some people back out to round out some of this and get some other opinions on some stuff we're doing. We're going to be changing locations, changing setups, outdoor stuff, adding videos apparently now to Spotify. So time to go spend some money on the camera. God.
Right. Yeah. Don't worry, I have one that we can use.
I have one too. We can do multiple shots, all the angles. You can't see me right now. Calvin can see me. You guys can't see me right now.
You'll see him soon, though. Don't worry. Thanks for listening, everyone. And you have listened to This Pod is for fucking nerds. Bye, everyone.
Fucking flawless.